adopted 2 polar bears.
This is the situation. I am trying to knit, but 1, 2, and how can I?
Hello and welcome to my Wild Knitting podcast. My name is Martina Elisabetta. I share many different things: foraging, cooking, and knitting and craft and woodworking related. But this today is a podcast where we talk about knitting mainly. And if you're interested in the other videos as well, you can check the channel and maybe support us by subscribing and commenting or liking. And I try to share once a week, not a podcast once a week, but other type of videos. Now I'm doing a season series where I share different stories of the different seasons. Now we're doing autumn stories, and it's really nice. I share what I like to do during the different seasons. Today I'm not alone in this podcast because our family got bigger and we are no longer 2 members, now we are 4. We adopted 2 beautiful furry creatures. If you just stumbled across this channel, welcome. I hope you'll enjoy this content. So today I'm gonna share what I've been knitting on, some finished objects and some work in progress projects. So I'm gonna share my finished object. I guess it's the only one. So this is my main big finished object and is a cardigan. Now, I wore it twice and I haven't blocked it. This is what I usually do with my finished garments. I try to wear them once or twice to feel if I like the length of the body, for example, or of the sleeves, if I want to make some changes before I finally block the garment. I finished it, I believe, 1.5 weeks ago, something like that, 10 days ago. And I think the color is blowing off a bit on camera. Someone is making some noises. I wasn't sure about the length. It's not cropped at all. It's quite long for my liking. Like usually I like to have cropped sweaters, not maybe too cropped, but I like to wear high-waisted pants and high-waisted skirts and jeans, and I like that the sweaters are kind of like standing on the waist. But I also, to be honest, need longer garments. They are a bit long and they kind of cover my belly and my lower back, so I can feel cozy. And this one covers really well my lower back and my belly, but it's quite long, and I was thinking maybe I could rip back the last section here, maybe the last 5 or 8 centimeters, and just knit the ribbing instead of this stockinette section. I'm just gonna talk quickly about what I would do differently, and then we'll talk about the pattern. But then Mika told me it's so beautiful and cozy. You can knit other things that are cropped. You have other cropped cardigans. I have one that I knitted that is quite cropped. So in the end I decided to keep it this long, and it's so cozy and snuggly. And I knitted this one. I'm trying to not disturb him, but I knitted this one Okay, now we're getting too distracted, so I'm gonna show him to you. My love. So we adopted 2 polar bears. They're gonna become huge, but we love them. They're not technically 2 polar bears. We call them polar bears because they look pretty much like polar bears. They sleep and they eat and they play and they shit and they pee everywhere. Hello, Mojo. Hello, Mojo. I'm gonna put you back here, okay? This is the situation. What can I say? So we adopted him and his little sister. His name is Mojo. We called him Mojo, like the knitting Mojo or any Mojo. And we actually learned that Mojo is also a charm of fortune. That's what it means also. And then his sister, who's now on Mika's lap, is Mita. We call her Mita Isha, so 2 names. And yeah, she's absolutely an angel and also a rascal at the same time. You can be 2 different opposite things, and that's okay. And we're just so in love, and we've been pretty busy with them, kind of, adjusting our lives to them, and they are adjusting their lives to us. So we're getting to know each other. But back to the garment. I'm sure you will see more of him and of her. And so I really love it. I followed partially, and I heavily modified it. I follow the pattern TULC or TULC, or the Ultimate Lazy Cardigan by Albiona. I'll put it on the screen, the name of the pattern and the designer. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pattern, and I followed that, and I decided to purchase that pattern because the design had the neck band or neckline and the bottom band knitted as you knit the garment and not afterwards. So there is no picking up stitches and knitting bottom bands and neck bands. You do it as you go. It's knitted top down, and it has a beautiful shoulder construction. I'm sorry, Mojo. Has a beautiful shoulder construction, and I added this texture that you see, texture work or structure work, and it's very simple texture work that I added. It has a lateral braid and the starting of a cable on 3 sections of the body, more or less. And then I decided to add a little personal touch. I made this irregular olive tree wooden buttons that I think are absolutely beautiful. I'm so in love with this type of buttons. They're just so beautiful. But it's absolutely beautiful with these buttons. However, I noticed that since the garment is very flowy and so soft, I'm gonna tell you soon what type of yarns I used. The buttons are a little heavy, so I was thinking to maybe change and use the buttons for maybe a more, sturdy, bulky cardigan, or, a jacket, something like that, and replace them with maybe little tiny buttons that are not really hanging, because if I wear this cardigan open, it kind of, the buttons are a bit heavy, so it kind of tends to, fall on the sides. The sides of the bottom band kind of falls. Does that make sense? Sorry, I've been a little bit on the clouds these days and in love, so I hope you forgive me, or yeah, it's okay. But it kind of, I don't know, hangs a bit because the buttons are quite heavy, and I think it's blowing up a bit. I used this beautiful on camera right now because I have this light from the window that is quite strong. The color is a bit more washed and cold, but it's a beautiful, like, lilac, common mallow mauve, variegated color. Yeah, maybe now it's kind of, maybe no, it's blowing up a lot. It's an absolutely beautiful color. I wasn't sure. I think now I can see it on the little screen on the side of my camera, but now this is the true color that you can see. Now it's showing up well, but it's absolutely beautiful, this yarn, and it was a yarn that I generously got gifted by Addi from Ruby and Rose's Yarns, and she gifted me 3 skeins of silk mohair and a cashmere and merino and a bit of nylon blend. So I held those 2 different yarns together. Surprisingly enough, I used only 2 skeins of silk mohair and 3 skeins of the other cashmere and merino blend. And the colorways I used, this is Tattered Pages, and it's a beautiful, beautiful light kind of mauve color. And the other one I used was called Love Note, and was on the cashmere and merino base. And these are yarns from her new collection, which is the Letter Writer collection, and I really, really enjoyed knitting with both of these. I think that this garment is so soft and cozy, and I love it. These days I'm really into texture work and braids. I said before in one of my videos that I wasn't really like a cable person, but somehow I'm changing my mind. So don't hold me accountable when I say that I don't like something. Things can change. And I really, really love how this garment turned out. I think I might change these buttons, even if I made them specifically for this garment. I made some other buttons that are very similar, but are all the same size for this cardigan, but I didn't really like them so much. I mean, they were cute, but then I made these ones, and I love them, especially on this cardigan, but they are, I think, a bit too heavy, so I might change the buttons. And I think I need more cardigans in my life. I use the sweaters that I've been knitting There are not cardigans, but I love the fact that you can have them open or closed, and they're so versatile. I really like cardigans, and I made one last year or the beginning of this year, and this is my second one, so I want to have more cardigans. And I don't mind purling. Maybe I can wear it because it's getting a bit cold. What's happening? What's happening? No. What's happening? Do you want to go down? We go down. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. I'm back. I also took a little bit of my rosehip syrup and some water to refresh myself. These days I've been preserving and making marmalades and making syrups and very busy. Autumn is a very busy time to prepare for the winter. And yes, this cardigan is absolutely beautiful. I'll show you the cardigan in its full length. So if you excuse me, I'm gonna move you the camera. And it's quite, you see, it's quite long. My belly button is up here, so it's quite long, and I absolutely love how it fits. It's so cozy. But as you can see, like the buttons, maybe this one up here is kind of like, they're kind of hanging, but I love them so much, so I don't really know if I'll change them. Look how pretty they are. They're all different from one another. That's what I love. But it's very beautiful. It's really cozy. It's not prickly at all. I guess it's kind of like a superwash yarn. So yes. Okay. So I'm very, very happy with this cardigan. I need to block it now that there is still some beautiful sun and it's still warm. We are experiencing an absolutely beautiful autumn. There are, of course, cold days in the morning and in the evening. It gets pretty cold, and during the days you can wear like t-shirts. I've been wearing my ranunculus. This is a ranunculus I knitted and I showed before, and I knitted it with a cotton and a mohair yarn, lace, I think, weight, held together with a lyocell yarn, and it's absolutely soft and nice. I love it. But I absolutely enjoy this cardigan. I enjoyed knitting on it. These yarns are very nice, very nice. And yes, so this is my first and only finished object, because I had what could have been my second finished object, but I decided to unravel just the crown of this hat that I'm knitting for Mika, because I didn't really like how I decreased it, and now I will have to reknit it, but it's gonna be quite quick. And yeah, I have been very slow with this hat, but I really like it. I'm sorry if there are live stitches, but I just unraveled it, and I felt a little bit like pressured. I was like, oh, I want to show that I finished this hat, because last video that I shared here, I was almost done with the hat. But then I thought, no, I'm gonna do what I feel like doing, and is unraveling it so I can properly decrease in a nice way and not as the way I've done it. But it's a very simple 2x2 ribbed hat for Mika, and I started it last year actually, but then I put it on the side. I don't know, it didn't really sparked any joy, but now I'm really excited to finish it and have it done so Mika can enjoy it and can wear it. And yeah, and the yarn I'm using, it's I think an Italian merino yarn, and I found it on a local yarn store. No, I don't remember what yarn this is. I lost the label, but yes, that would have been my second finish object, but we are gonna do things in the right way. We're not gonna rush just because I'm filming a podcast. And that's how life should be. We're gonna do what we feel like doing as much as we can. Okay, so I guess I showed you my first work in progress project, which I finished, but now I unraveled. So it's still a work in progress project. And then I want to show you a project I've been working for a month now. More than a month, to be honest. Yes, more than a month, because I casted on this in the first week of September. And it's my shawl. So this shawl has been a beautiful pleasure to knit on. However, I have been a little bit all over the place, as I mentioned before, also with this shawl. And it's not really practical to bring with me if I go somewhere, because I'm using 3 different yarns, one of which is a cone, and I know I could cake it up but couldn't be bothered, and so I decided to have it as my stationary project. Can you say like something like that, like that I have it in one part of the house and I pick it up when I'm really relaxing and I want to be a bit focused. And I'm using the pattern Calville Shawl by Gabriella, Merriweather Knitting Podcast. She designed an absolutely gorgeous shawl. And now I'm going to explain what I've done, because I know it looks a bit wonky. So, as I mentioned, I was using 3 yarns, 3 different yarns. One is a wool and silk lace yarn. You can see it in the previous podcast episodes. I talked about them so much. And this is hand dyed in Dublin. I think it's a British company. It is a British company. And it's a beautiful, beautiful color and a beautiful yarn, but it's lace weight. So I decided to hold it together with this fingering weight, almost lace weight as well, like light fingering weight cone. This is a bamboo cone color Toffee 734 from Silk City Fiber, and it has a special place in my heart. First of all, it's one of my favorite colors, and it's a gift from my friend Ali from the Ali in Sweatpants podcast. And then I was binding everything together with just a strand of this lace way silk mohair. Fun. So we were having fun, we were enjoying this moss stitch section, enjoying, and then at some point I got bored with the mohair. I was like, I'm knitting a lot of mohair projects, I am done with mohair, I'm gonna stop using the mohair for the next section, the lattice section, and that's what I've done. I stopped using it, but then after a while, as the cold was creeping in, I decided to introduce the mohair again. And that's what I've done. So, as you can see, here there's no mohair and here there is mohair. And now I decided to drop the mohair again. So there is a no mohair section and no mohair section. It's looking a bit weird, I know, but I'm completely fine with it. I like the slight change in texture, and I absolutely love how the without mohair section part looks like. It's a lot more bright, it's a lot more it has a lot more interesting colors. The mohair is kind of clouding the situation, and I'm gonna block it in a way that it is not gonna, I'm gonna try blocking it in a way that is not gonna look too wonky, I hope. But I'm completely fine. I love to experiment with my knitting projects, and I'll probably reknit this garment with other type of yarns, maybe more rustic, more warm yarns, and but for now I think this shawl is absolutely beautiful, and I am done with the lattice section. It's been a long project. I think it's also because it's a little, you need to follow the pattern. I never done this lattice section before in other projects, and so I was really following the pattern really well, but I'm done now with the lattice section, and I need to do the last little section, and then I'll be done. But I, to be honest, enjoyed knitting on this so much that I didn't almost want to have it done, and also I'm not in a rush, you know. I already have my shawl, my really big warm shawl here that I've been using a lot, and so it's not something that I absolutely needed to have. So yeah, I've been taking my time, and this is part of a knit along that I'm hosting, which lasts till December. So if you want, you can still join. I mean, we still have almost 2 months, and I think you can absolutely knit a shawl in 2 months if you want to join. There are little prizes, and I decided I'm not gonna make buttons. I'm gonna make a shawl pin for the winner, and then there are buttons gifted by one of our fellow wild creatures here. And I showed the buttons in the previous podcast episode, but I'm gonna show the final prize on my next podcast episode. So we'll wrap things up, and if you want to participate, you can join our chat on Instagram. I'll leave the link of my Instagram profile below, so you can message me, or you can just follow and add the hashtag shall we shawl Cal or shall we shawl knit along on Instagram, or join the Ravelry group. I'll link everything in the description box, and you can knit any shawl that you like, as long as it's a shawl or a kind of shawl blanket or a scarf, something that you will use like a shawl. You're very welcome to join. I love this one. I have been knitting here and there. These days I actually been knitting more on this than on any of the other projects. I knitted the hat a bit, and another project that I'm going to show you, but this one I picked it up the past 3 days, and I finished the lattice section. I'm sorry if I'm showing it to you like this, all kind of crunched up, but this is how I have it on my needles. So if you want to see the finished project or product, stay tuned for the next few podcast episodes. But I love it, and I think I really like also this kind of crazy changes of color and the mohair and non-mohair sections. Yeah, I will cherish this garment a lot once I'll have it done. And I love the yarns that I'm using, all of them. The silk mohair is nothing really special, but you know, it has that extra warmth, which I like. And yeah, so that's my second work in progress project that I've been working on for a while. I've been enjoying our conversations and our little group on Instagram. We're many people there, and some decided to share a lot, some decides to just be present there. You don't need to join, there's no need to do that. You can just follow the hashtag. Yeah, another huge project I've been working on, and this also is a little bit messy, but this one I cast it on when I was in the mountains up north. We did a little trip, me and Mika, and it was very interesting. We learned a lot of things. If you want to check it out, we made a little video which is called Autumn Story. It's the second autumn story. I think it's called Knitting and the Mountains. And I cast it on finally, the milkweed sweater. And it's absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So let me talk to you a little bit about this beauty. Yes, it's a bit wonky. I'm sorry, it's not blocked, the yoke. I'm still knitting on it and it's fun and I've been enjoying it so much, and I've been using yarns that I love with my heart. So I decided to cast on the milkweed sweater, which was the first colorwork pattern I ever bought. And I bought it a year and a half ago, I think. And last year was the year where I finally decided to knit garments, like big garments, like sweaters. So I was really a newbie when it comes to sweater knitting. And I saw this beautiful pattern that was knitted by Kat from the Olive Trees and the Moon blog. And she knitted this beautiful milkweed sweater, and I was inspired, so I thought, let me just buy the pattern and we'll figure it out as we go. It asked for, I think, fingering weight yarn and 3.25 or 3.50 millimeters needles. So it's a little, it's a long project, and I don't know, I got a little bit intimidated, so I decided to have it in my library and knit it later on. And I knitted the Tresta by Jennifer Stengas instead. But finally I cast it on. It's a pleasure. And it has been a pleasure. So I decided to knit it with a DK Way yarn that I dyed myself, which this is the other skein. I had only 2 skeins left, or of this yarn. So I'm playing yarn chicken, that's for sure. We already knew that. And this is the next skein that I need to cake up. And I dyed it myself. I made also a video on how I dyed it, and I used the walnut hulls of the tree that is right here next to me outside this window. And walnut hulls are beautiful. They create this nice warm kind of light. It depends what type of the concentration of the dye, but this is kind of like a beautiful warm light brown, and I love this color. So I decided to use this as my primary color. And then the white is the Baby Alpaca by BC Garn, and I'm holding it to double. This is what I have left, and I think I'm gonna use this for the cuffs of the sleeves, just a little bit. I like to do things as I go. I don't have problems with unraveling things. I like to move forwards. If things don't work, I like to either leave them on the side and wait until I have the mojo again, or just unravel them if they don't spark any joy. But this has been a big pleasure, and I decided to use a little bit of the white on the neckline because this yarn, the alpaca, 100% alpaca, it's the baby alpaca by BC Garn, I said, is the softest thing I ever touched. My puppies have a very similar fur and softness of the fur, but this, I absolutely love this yarn. I'll knit more with alpaca in the future. I think I realized that I am more an alpaca person than a sheep person. If that makes sense. Like, I love alpacas. I have been on a little farm once that had alpacas for wool, and they're just so friendly. Their wool is beautiful, and they just the best, one of the best animals for fibers, I would say, in my opinion. But I'm not an expert. That's just how I feel. So in the future, I want to experiment more and knit more with alpaca yarns, and find, maybe if you have recommendation for yarns, alpaca yarns that are made ethically and sustainably, I would really appreciate it. Maybe even in Europe, if you know anything. But please let me know, because I want to knit with alpaca in the future. I would rather knit with alpaca than wool for some reason. Wool is always beautiful, but you need to find the right one. I want to learn about alpaca fibers more in the future. I think they're also, I love the drape of alpaca garments and fibers. It's just so perfect, and it's warm, it's soft on my hands. I realize I love alpaca. And I love this yarn. So I decided to have this neckline knitted with the alpaca one, and then I decided to add, so third yarn that I decided to use, it was this beautiful, this also has a special place in my heart. This is a yarn, I think Mika bought me 3 skeins or 2 skeins, 3 of this yarn. This is the Isager tweed in the color winter gray, and it has some little tweeds, and it's kind of like almost undyed, I would say. It's beautiful, and I'm holding it double as well, because this as well is light fingering, so double, it creates a, I don't know if it's really a DK way, kind of, but love this. And I decided to add touches of this yarn held together sometimes with another yarn that I had in my stash. All of this because I love these yarns, and I love the color combination of the main color, the Isager, this one, and the white. I love how these colors dance together. And so I decided to hold these two together with a lace way 100% Swedish wool yarn. And this one, I found it in Sweden on a barn sale. So sometimes in the countryside in Sweden, there are these big, beautiful red wooden barns, and they have kind of like a backyard sale, with all of their antique secondhand objects, and they do like a little sale. And I found a skein of this one, and I caked it up, and it's beautiful, but it didn't have a label, so I have no idea. But the owner said that it's Swedish wool, 100% Swedish wool, and it's a lace weight yarn. And I really like this deep brown, and I thought it was very nice to hold this together with this for some reason. And so I added a little start of a moss stitch here, and then I started the collar work section, and now I separated from the sleeves and I'm knitting the body. And the body is a little wonky, so I really hope I will like this. So what I'm doing here is one stitch main collar, another stitch the secondary collar, and repeating that, and then one row of main collar stockinette, and so on and so forth, and some little other texture moss stitch sections. It's gonna be wild as usual, and I love it. I think this one will be cropped. I don't know if I will knit the hem band, like ribbed hem. I don't know how I will knit it. Maybe I will do just an I-cord. We'll see. I want it to kind of be a bit A-shaped, finishing like an A-shaped, if that makes sense, and kind of be quite boxy. We'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind, who knows. But I'm enjoying this so very much, and I think it's turning out beautifully. And I'm so looking forward to have it in my wardrobe. And yeah, I knitted the entire, yoke and part of the body with one of these skeins, and now I have only this left. So I need to really maybe knit the sleeves first and then finish the body with the other colors. I don't know. I like to play sometimes yarn chicken, especially when I have a little bit of a yarn that is unique and I don't want to purchase more. And then I can finish things that I have in my stash. And it's okay. I like to experiment with things. Sometimes it's frustrating, and then I try to maybe buy more of that specific yarn. Sometimes it's just, sometimes having limitations and fewer amount of some products in like sparks even more creativity, because then I kind of like do some pirouettes to knit something. So this is Mita. Say hi, Mita. This is the girl, the little rascal. Want to stay here? Yeah. So I don't know if I'll manage to finish this podcast episode today. No! Mojo, no! Lots of breaks today. Okay, so I have been really enjoying the milkweed sweater. I do modifications not so much because I think that the patterns are incomplete or they are lacking something or they're not designed nicely. It's mostly out of like a peak of craziness and creativity and rebellion and laziness. Like maybe I don't have the pattern at hand, but I have my project and I don't want to check the pattern. I just want to, knit on it and do a little funky thing on it. So it's not because, most of the time, it's not because the pattern isn't nice enough, if that makes sense. But I love that sweater. I'm really curious to see how it will develop. And that was my third work in progress project that I've been actively working on. I've been knitting a little bit on my second sock. I am knitting the Magic Toadstool socks by Stone Knits, and this is my first one finished, not blocked but finished. It looks a bit wonky, but I absolutely love it, and I added some extra color work throughout the sock, and I followed the pattern up, so it's knitted calf down, and I follow it to here after the color work section here, and then from the heel down I just did my own ways. I did a German short row heel, and then I did these decreases and some little color work, and that's what I'll do for the second one. But I've been knitting these days a little bit on this second sock, just a little, very little, and I forgot to change the color, and I started knitting the mushroom caps with the same like violetish color, and I'm thinking to keep it because I can't be bothered to unravel it, even if it's just a few rows to unravel. I think I like it like that, and it will still be very different. Like, it will look similar in terms of the amount of color work, if that makes sense. If you're new here, this is how my knitting work. I like to do things my way and experiment, and I am very far from achieving perfection. I don't like perfect things. I think also perfection is a very abstract concept. Yeah, it's a very subjective concept, right? What is perfect for me might not be perfect for you. I'll see. I'll finish knitting the little mushrooms, this main violet color, and then see if I actually like it or if it's a bit too wonky compared to the other one. But I think I will like it anyway. That's how I like things. So yeah, I have been enjoying these socks a lot, and I wasn't sure about this color combination, but I like colorful socks, and it still has a lot of green, so that's one of my favorite colors. I like it, and I'm using an alpaca and wool and nylon blend. I think this is by Drops. I had it in my stash. I'm trying to use up all my stash yarn, and especially Drops yarns, because I don't want to purchase yarns from them anymore, and I don't want to talk too much about Drops. I already talked before, but I don't really like their practices. They've been stealing patterns from designers and all of that. But anyhow, that's kind of the main color I'm using, and these other two little mini skeins are from Ruby and Roses yarns. Addie sent me some mini skeins along with the yarn for this beautiful cardigan. So I'm using these two, and I think they're beautiful colors. They're kind of variegated, as you can see. Beautiful. So yeah, that's my other work in progress project. I love knitting on socks. However, colorwork socks are a little bit challenging for me because you have such a tiny circumference, and it's a little, everything is a bit fiddling working so tiny, but I am enjoying the look of them. So I'll finish them, and once I finished the heel part and this color work, then I can just go nuts and experiment with other color combinations. I need to go and cook lunch, but I want to share two more things. One is another little project and it's quick. There's not so much to share. It's just the beginning of a sock that I'm knitting for my sister in this beautiful yarn. This is a yarn from an Italian company called Borgo de Pazzi. Borgo de Pazzi is based in Tuscany, and they have beautiful yarns. They have so many different plant-based fibers such as hemp and nettle and lyocell, and they also blend them with wool and like animal-based fibers sometimes. And I really like their products and their practices. This one, I bought it because I wanted to try it, and I thought maybe I could just knit a bralette and enjoy myself a bralette in this beautiful color. But then I realized that I wanted to start knitting, like a gift knitting for my family, and my sister loves this color. At least she did in the past, and I think she would like a pair of socks in this color. So I really am enjoying. I cast it on some days ago when I was knit walking. I usually walk and knit socks. That's what I do these days. But yes, a little vanilla sock for my sister. I wanted to talk about this beautiful yarn. Finally, I got my hands on the most squishy unspun beautiful yarn. This is Nutiden, which is an unspun yarn from Sweden. The company which sells this yarn is called Höner och Är, I believe, and they do like sporadical updates, shop updates, so you don't find yarns in their shops every day, and I think that's a beautiful concept. It sets the scene for beautiful slow practices. I think that almost every company should, maybe not every, but that's I think where we should go towards, have like moments where we are very productive and we share our products and our work, and moments where we rest when we rest. That's how life is. We have times where we are very active and times where we need rest. But this world is very much rushing and promoting this instant gratification. So it's not always easy to appreciate also those who take the time to work on projects and give offerings once in a while. And that's what Önerokea does, and they are so good. They're so good at what they're doing, and their yarns are very beautiful. Their colorways are beautiful. So after this nice introduction, I want to share with you this yarn because I'm planning to make a project with this yarn that I received. So this colorway is called Vägen hem. Vägen hem means the way home, and I bought it because of the name and the color. I mean, the color is nice and kind of neutral, but it has these little changes of darker parts and lighter parts, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I bought it also because of the name, as I was saying. I bought it in a moment where we really were active in looking and searching for houses. That week we were very burning out, and it was very a hard time. And I really felt like the name of this yarn was kind of trying to bringing me home. And actually, when we came back, at the doorstep there was the package, so it was beautiful. And but yeah, I bought this yarn. I never knitted, I think, with unspun yarns. I bought 300 grams of this colorway, and I received this amount. So there is a bigger cake and then little smaller ones. Now, I am not really good with understanding the right meterage or yardage for projects. Sometimes I am, sometimes I understand exactly what I need, but with this yarn, I don't really know. I knitted the little swatch holding it not double, but having one single strand. And I was thinking that I would really like a very airy and light shawl knitted with one strand of this yarn. However, I have two projects in mind. One is a shawl that I want to design for myself, and I want to knit, and I want it to be quite simple but have little details, and I'm still in the process of thinking about it. And that shawl can be also shared with my family, like Mika is my family, and the puppies. And or I could knit a vest that I've been wanting to knit for a while, and that project would be part of a make-along I want to participate in. The make-along is hosted by Alex from the Ancestral Craft podcast. She is hosting this beautiful make-along. I think the concept is so beautiful, and it's called Feathered Friends Make-Along. If you want to check it out, I'll leave maybe the link of her channel in the description box. And she is basically inviting people to make something in any craft, not only knitting, that is inspired of a bird, any bird. And I have been thinking, what bird am I wanting to collaborate with or design with for this project? And when I received this yarn, I got really inspired by the color, and maybe 2 months ago I found a little feather on the ground. And this feather here, we are living in the countryside, so there are a lot of feathers on the ground here and there. I mean, not like a massive amount, but you find feathers on the ground. But this feather was very special. Someone is joining us again. Mojo. The little feather I found on the ground is this one. And I search on a portal, like it helps you to identify birds from the feathers. So if you find like a feather, it kind of helps you more or less to understand what bird that feathers belongs to. And you need to choose like the different shapes, the different colors, and then it kind of makes an estimation of the birds that have similar feathers. And it turns out that these feathers, it could be from a little owl. And because it has these little dots on the side of the feather. And as you can see, the color of this beautiful Nutiden yarn is very similar to the feather. colorway. And so I would like to knit something that reminds me of this feather. So I'm starting from the feather rather than from the bird, and I can only assume it's from this little owl, but that would be my inspiration. And maybe I'll incorporate the feather. I don't think so, but I was thinking that if I knit, for example, a shawl, I could create a shawl pin with the feather and add it to maybe a piece of wood. But I really would like to knit this vest, which is the Winterberry vest by Emily Foden. And it's a beautiful, beautiful vest, I think. I don't have knitted vest. I knitted vest before, but I give them all. And so I would like to have a little vest. And I really like that pattern. However, I'm not sure it will be easy to knit with an unspun yarn, because it has a lot of, like, not a lot, but it has cables and texture. And so we'll see, we'll need to figure things out. But in that case, if I knit a vest, and you can help me decide whether I should knit a shawl or the little vest, and if I knit the vest, I'll hold the yarn double. Whereas if I knit a shawl, I'll hold it, I'll have just one strand of the yarn, because I want it quite airy. So I don't know, but help me out with deciding. In this moment, I'm more interested in knitting a vest, the little vest, the Winterberry vest. And I think it's also interesting because winterberries are lovely berries that many birds love to eat. Maybe not the little owl, but there are many birds that love to eat winterberries. So I think it would be nice. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry if it has been a bit chaotic, but I wanted to catch up with you and share the little things I've been making, and maybe next time I'll be a little bit more focused, I would say. Once a week I've been trying to share some extra content on Patreon. The patrons have been helping me a lot. We need a little more extra support, and it has been so good to have extra support. If you want to buy us a coffee, I'll gather all of the money that I receive from your little donations on Ko-fi, and I'll buy food for the puppies. And if I have extra money there, I'll donate them to a dog rescue NGO, because I have been researching a little bit about rescue dogs. It's really sad how many puppies, how many dogs are being abandoned or are living in very horrible conditions. And so I would like to donate a little bit of money for the beautiful NGO mostly that are, or the volunteers that are helping these puppies with, maybe for the food of these puppies. And there is actually a beautiful NGO. I'll link it in the description box if you want to donate some money for the food for the dogs. I'll be really happy. Just if you want, you don't have to, but I'll leave the link of the NGO, the Rescue Dog NGO, in the description box. So thank you so much for joining us. Me and Mojo are gonna eat something, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mojo, for joining us as well. Please consider subscribing if you like this video, and see you next time, and very soon. Goodbye. Goodbye.